One of the biggest questions that game developers face. Should you use Unity or Godot to make your next game? Well, let me share my experience. Unity and Godot are two of the most popular game engines used by indie game developers around the world. They both have their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and choosing between them can be a tough decision. I am currently making a game for the Metroidvania Month Game Jam, and I wanted to double check the rules on itch.io. But this is when I noticed the Brackeys Game Jam 2023, and being as easily distracted as I am, I couldn't resist the challenge. The Brackeys Game Jam 2023 was a week-long game jam with a unique theme. This year's theme was An End is a New Beginning. I participated in this jam last year, and I had a blast, so I knew that I had to give it a shot again this year. But then came the hard decision. Which game engine should I use to make my game? Unity or Godot? If you've ever participated in a game jam before, you know how exciting and challenging it can be to create a game in a limited amount of time. I began brainstorming ideas for games along the theme. I was inspired by the idea of having a player progress through a level, but with a twist. As the player advanced through the level, the camera would pull back, revealing more of the level that was previously unseen. But that's not all. When the player reached the end of that level, the camera would once again pull back to reveal yet more of the level. Players will have 3 abilities at their disposal, including jumping, wall jumping, and dashing. These moves will be essential for navigating through the levels, avoiding obstacles and enemies alike. Speaking of enemies, there will be 2 types to keep an eye out for. The first is a creature that moves along a set path, and the second a dangerous spike that players must carefully avoid. One misstep and it's back to the beginning of the level, so players will need to stay sharp and use their skills to complete the level. Coming up with that idea was easy. Now for my dilemma. Do I use Unity or Godot? My game was going to be a 2D game, and since Unity and Godot can both handle 2D games, that did not help me narrow down my decision. But since I was already familiar with Unity, which I've been using for the past 3 years, so it's the engine I'm most familiar with, the obvious choice was Godot. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm on a mission to take my game development skills to the next level, and that means exploring new tools and options. Now I've been hearing some major buzz in the indie game dev scene about Godot 4 and its potential to knock Unity off its throne. Of course, as a Unity user myself, I'm not totally sold on that idea just yet. But I'm always open to new ideas, so I decided to check out the Godot website to see what all the fuss is about. Who knows, maybe it could be a game changer for me, and for you too. So what do you think? The Godot website had tons of helpful information, but I still had a lot of questions, like, do I use the stable version 3 or the pre-release version 4? And more importantly, will I be able to implement all the features I want in my game in just 7 days? So I turned to YouTube to see what other developers were saying about the Godot 4 pre-release. After scouring the internet for answers and watching a ton of videos, I stumbled across a short and sweet video by GD Quest. It was incredibly helpful and clarified everything for me. As it turns out, as a complete beginner to Godot, the version 3.5 is the way to go, since there's a lot more resources available for complete beginners to learn. Now I'm back on the Godot website to check out their tutorial resources. It's always important to have a good understanding of the engine you're using, especially when you're working on a tight deadline. After completing the Godot tutorial, I realized that I only had 4 days left to work on my game for the Brackeys Game Jam. I really wanted to include all the features I had planned, but it was clear that I would not be able to finish in time using Godot. I really wanted to enter the game jam with the best possible version of my game to get valuable feedback. So I made the decision to switch back to Unity to create my game. It was a tough few days, but I entered into what we call crunch time in the game development world, and I worked tirelessly to finish my game in just 3 days. As always, feature creep got the best of me, and I ended up adding even more features than I had originally planned. The last feature that I wanted to add to my game was a speedrun timer. It was a bit of a challenge to get it to work just right, but with ChatGPT's assistance, we were able to make it happen. The timer added a whole new level of excitement to the game, and I was thrilled with the end results. If you haven't heard of ChatGPT, you can check out the video I made on ChatGPT when we're done here. I submitted my game to the Brackeys Game Jam, and I got some really great feedback that will help me improve as a game developer. Overall, I was really happy with the experience, and I can't wait to do it again. So that's the story of how I ended up using Unity for the Brackeys Game Jam. I'm really happy with the way my game turned out, and I learned a lot in the process. However, my experience with Godot has definitely piqued my interest in continuing to learn and explore what I can do with it. Who knows, maybe I'll use it to make my game for the Metroidvania Month Game Jam coming up. But what about you? Have you ever had to make a tough decision like this in your own game development projects? How did you handle it? Also, have you ever used Godot to make a game? I'd love to hear your experiences and any tips or advice you may have. Thanks for watching, and let's continue to build worlds one pixel at a time.